Good morning and welcome. After the Grau Nerfs, which gun is the new Grau? Let's be honest, the Grau is still the new Grau. The old Grau is the new Grau, long live the Grau. But what we're going to try out is we're going to try to find a gun that does things better than the AUG. But we'll have to split that probably in two videos. We're going to find a runner-up that you pair together with an SMG, and we're going to find a runner-up that you pair together with a sniper. This part is now AR plus SMG. The Grau Nerf was a simple one. The damage range got reduced, slight increase to high frequency recoil, and also reduced recoil compensation and decreased range on the Tempest, Archangel, and FSS Nexus barrels. Sounds good at first. Let's look at the numbers. This would be the Grau time to kill. Technically, the Grau actually looks awful if you look at that. I mean, the time to kill is only 650 milliseconds. That's ass compared to other guns in the short range. And as we know, the Grau actually sucks short range. You lose fights against everything. Considering that the MP5 has like a time to kill from 550 milliseconds, you're like 100 milliseconds shorter. The advantage of the Grau is though, you just hit every single shot. I mean, it doesn't matter on which distance you shoot the Grau, every single shot hits more or less straight up in the middle. But then you have a nice fall off. So you're going to go for 80 meters. And then again, we have only a 900 millisecond time to kill. But that doesn't matter because 900 millisecond matters if you hit every single shot. We look at the Bruin. The Bruin has a lower time to kill, but the problem with the Bruin is, yes, it deviates a bit. It's a big fucking LMG. It just like boop, 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 boop. So it might have a lower time to kill. Other guns too, but they don't beam like a laser. Same goes from 80 meters up and beyond. The Grau is actually very bad. I mean, you've noticed that you have to pump a lot of shots into the Grau, but paired with the extreme high rate of fire and hitting every single shot, the 1 second is then actually 1 second. And not just like other guns where you're just gonna be like, and 3, 4, 5 bullets miss. So the Grau looks pretty decent here. What we're trying to find now is a pairing with the SMG. So like, let's say an SMG is good for up to 20 meters, maybe even up to 40 meters, worst case scenario, depending on what you choose. I mean, if you play an AUG or a P90, 40 meters would be fine. 20 meters, aim for that. So we would find an AR that's technically starts to get better from here on out or from here on out. So we need something from up to 40 meters range that is an absolute beamer that performs better than the Grau in those cases. And then we whoop out our SMG in the other cases. Let's first take a look at my favorite runner-up, the CR56 Amax. Technically, from a mere stat comparison, the Amax just whoops the Grau's butt. I mean, you see the close range time to kill is pretty nutty. Then on top of that, the damage fall off is not that hard. It's not like, you know, the Grau has this gigantic one where it loses like 30 milliseconds time to kill, 300 milliseconds time to kill. Whereas this one just has a nice and steady fall off where you're not suddenly like, oh man, he stands 10 meters further away. I can't hit a single shot. It's not doing damage. No, we're fine. I mean, look at this. The biggest problem with the Amax is it's just not a beamer like the Grau. The Amax is good, but on a long range, it has a wide spread to the horizontal. Yes, sure, you can put on some attachments to fight against that, but you're also then going to be having the horizontal climb. So the gun has a good horizontal climb, but also a horizontal deviation happening. You got to find like attachments that help you with that. Commando foregrip can be good. You might want to try a muzzle brake, but then again, you can't use a muzzle brake because you need the bonus bullet velocity from the monolithic. So the Amax, technically from a mere statistics standpoint, can live up to the Grau. I would say mostly usable up to 100 meters. From that point on, have fun hitting shots with the Amax, even with the VLK or anything. It's going to be like really annoying with the standard deviation of the gun that it puts down. But all in all, just looking at this, it's a pretty damn good gun. Now, a lot of you might be laughing, but look at the AK. The AK seems like a gun you don't want to play. But recently the AK got a buff, and that buff was an ADS time buff. So the gun now goes faster into the scope, not so long anymore, and that was probably one of the biggest downsides of the AK. As you can see, the time to kill in the beginning is a decent one. It's fairly nice, and with the new ADS speed, you don't feel like you get completely out-aimed anymore, especially if you have that gun accidentally out when, you know, someone runs up to you and you can't whip out your SMG fast enough. And then with the damage fall off, you're still moving in a very nice, the same time to kill the Grau actually only has on a short range, and you go up to that for 100 meters. Obviously the problem with the AK is the big recoil, but with good attachments it works quite nice. The Romanian barrel has a standard foregrip on it, which is awesome, and then you can either choose to play a monolithic suppressor, or you can actually add a compensator to it to really fight the AK's aggressive climb. All in all, that gun is a fairly decent one. With the VLK, you should give it a roll with the build we're going to present you. Now with the guns that we have put already in, with the Amax, with the AK and the Kilo, also we're going to add the M4 because a lot of people actually do like that. Let's look at the ADS times. So as you can see, the Grau has a really nice ADS time of only 300 milliseconds, which also adds to a big problem for the Amax here as a long range build. You can probably reduce this down to 400 and something, but you'll lose a lot of recoil. I'm going to say on a long range gun, the ADS time doesn't matter that much for me because you're going to mostly have aimed in already. There's not this spontaneous aiming in and beaming, but it is definitely one of the speakers for the Grau that you have this nice little advantage that it doesn't matter on which distance you have it out, pans down, someone walks around the corner, you can't swap to your SMG. Boom, you're just going to beam him with the Grau, worst case scenario, because of 300 ms. I mean, it's almost double the time. Same goes for the AK. The Kilo is a little bit shorter and the M4 is a little bit shorter too. Obviously, keep in mind, these are long range builds. These are not optimized for ADS times. Still though, the Grau is automatically optimized for ADS times. The reason why the Amax is, for example, not the best for the long range builds, and why I always felt like it doesn't really do the trick with the VLK, has only 922 meters per second bullet velocity. Look at the Grau, 1200, the AK2, the Kilo 2, and the M4. All of these have a way higher bullet velocity, and all of these are built on maximum bullet velocity in all of their builds. So if you look alone at this, the Amax falls out as a runner-up for the Grau as a long-range beamer. So for the Amax, I'm rather saying this is a gun to pair with a sniper. This is a gun to really use in short range, close quarter combat. You can build with that time to kill a nice little beamer there. I mean, you can really compensate for the vertical recoil nicely with the build as you can for the other guns. The Grau doesn't really need it because it doesn't have the recoil, to be honest. So in this comparison with this time to kill, for me personally, I would be trying more and more with different AK builds to find that one AK build to rule them all on a long range. Before some people go crazy and ask questions like, why didn't you add the Ram 7? Why didn't you go for the M13 and other guns? Well, the reason for the M13 is very simple. The M13 doesn't pack enough punch. It beams, but on the longer ranges, the damage feels like non-existence. Ever tried to beam someone with the M13 versus the Bruin? You hit like 4 shots with the Bruin, dude is shredded. You hit like 40 shots with the M13. Yes, you cracked him, but you also need the walkway from left to right to actually hit your 40 shots and perfect tracking on top of that. I'm an M13 lover myself, but I easily like to discard it. Then we're talking about the Ram 7. The biggest problem with the Ram 7 is, yes, it has theoretically a really nice time to kill, especially when you start hitting headshots. And the time to kill does even go tremendously lower, no surprise. The biggest problem with the Ram 7 is it has an insane trade-off between ADS time and then also getting a decent recoil compensation in. Because we do know that the Ram 7 goes fairly slowly into ADS, and on top of that with cream and cheese, if you go faster into ADS, you're going to have to put a recoil away again. Technically, you can't even use a monolithic suppressor. Technically, you should use a compensator to make the Ram 7 what it really is. It feels like on a longer range, you're busy pumping bullets until you finally hit it. It's just not a beamer. The Grau has definitely a lower time to kill. We're talking about almost a 200 millisecond difference here. But the Grau at least hits every single bullet. Where with the Ram, you're going to be like, I'm hoping to hit every single bullet. It's definitely good on the short ranges. So again, pairing it with a sniper for the next video, but not pairing it with an SMG. This would be the AK long range build to work with the Grau or against the Grau together with your SMG. You have a skeleton stock which gives you a nice ADS time and aim down side speed. You have minus aiming stability, but that's just idle sway when you're scoped in, so no actual statistic that removes any horizontal or vertical recoil. Monolithic suppressor for bonus bullet velocity and range. Romanian barrel for the foregrip, which also tremendously decreases the vertical recoil. You have the VLK optic, and then you put on the 75 round drum mag. Here it comes really down to personal preference. I do like the bigger mags when you're shooting on the long range, because worst case scenario, miss some bullets, you have more of them. You could go for the 40 round mag, but let's be fair, 40 round mag in quads isn't it. In duos, most likely would go for the 40 round mag just to get like 20 more ADS milliseconds, which is absolutely worth it. The gun is a beamer, give it a go, you'll love it. Statistic wise, it's good. It's not crazy, but it's good, and it definitely hits on these sweet spots like 60, 80 meters, 50 meters, where it can obliterate people left and right. We have the monolithic suppressor, Singard Prowler barrel, the VLK optic. I wouldn't go for the Cronin optic. I'm a real fan of the Cronin 480, but the problem is the gun is just not good on these longer ranges past 100 meter. There's the extreme damage fall off, so you don't even need the bonus magnification for them. Commander foregrip to just work against that slight left and right horizontal bounce that the Kilo has, plus the 60 round mag. If you really want, you can go for the 100 round mag, but in this case, I'd rather prefer the ADS time of the gun over going for the more bullets. I said it, but as always, people don't listen. The Amax can't hold up with the other guns straight from a statistical standpoint because of the bullet velocity. 300 meters per second less bullet velocity is really bad. When you start shooting and a Grau turns around and starts shooting at the same time, and his bullets are just going to arrive first. I mean, even if you have first shot, if he reacts fast enough, his bullets might still arrive first or equal. And every second bullet of yours, third bullet or fourth, they're just slower in comparison to the other guns. It's just so awful. You have the monolithic suppressor, Zodiac barrel, VLK optic, commander foregrip, because the gun has a really horizontal deviation plus some vertical bounce, and the 45 round mag. Don't shoot this on any long range, because with the low bullet velocity, tracking feels awful with this gun. I mean, you're used to the 1200 meters per second bullet velocity on most other guns, and this is just slower. It's meant to be used close quarters. It's meant to be used mid-range up to 50, maybe tops 80 meters, but mid-range, not long range. Give it a go though. Can be extreme fun, but we're also going to present you the variant together with the sniper. All in all, to sum it up right now, which is the AR to go for? It's currently still the Grau, simply speaking. The other guns work, but the Grau needs more nerf. You can definitely try out the AK, it's beautiful. Go with the Amax, give it a go. Also try the Kilo, it's a definite beamer. And yes, also the Odin is still a nice gun. I just didn't include it because it's so hardcore off meta, even though the statistics speak for the Odin. Before you ask, yes, in my opinion, the Bruin is probably the best AR to play at the moment. We're just focusing on the ARs here right now to just find out technically what could, statistic-wise, ADS time and others, live up to the Grau. I'm going to be testing the AK comparatively a lot on stream, Twitch TV Ponyhoff, from 8 AM to 6 PM every single day but Sundays. So if you want to watch over there and tune in, we're also going to have that AK video coming. Plus there's going to be a sniper AR builds, different ones, because there we have a new really short barrel Amax. I'm going to put that in the comments below so you can actually see that. A lot of good content to come. Thank you for watching this. I hope it gave you some insight on how the ARs are currently, how the ADS time is, and some other shenanigans, what you should look at when you're actually looking for new guns. If you don't still know how to build your guns and what actually to look at in attachments, callofdutygundata.com can help you, and also the how to build a gun video that we have on YouTube. Thanks for watching this. Drop a comment if you want to see more like this. Drop a like. If you haven't subscribed yet, there is that button to click. Wish you a wonderful good day and see you soon in the Warzone.